Hello, Belinda.
Hi, Steve.
Welcome to Virgin Radio and Virgin Radio 80s Plus.
Thank you so much.
It's kind of weird because I've interviewed you in Thailand, in Kolkata, in India. So it's really nice for you to come and visit us at our home.
It's a bit closer.
It is, isn't it? A bit more comfortable. We're in a dusty old Toyota. Thank you so much for coming up with the tracks.
Pleasure. It was kind of fun, I have to say.
How did it take a long time? Did you know immediately which songs you were going to use?
Well, I can say this because it's a different territory, but I actually do a show for Sirius Radio in the States, and it's 80s and 90s centric. So I was like, so I just went over my previous shows that I did. And so I just took some of the songs from my previous shows that I have going on there.
Yeah, I remember you telling me you were about to do the radio show.
What you do is really, really, I found it, well, actually the recording the show at first, the first 3 shows, I was like terrified.
Yeah.
But I think the hardest part is coming up with the material, is like researching. But I know I did 12 shows and I learned so much about some of the artists I had no idea about. So it was really interesting for me. I don't know if I'll do it anymore, but it was interesting.
A friend of mine sent me one of the shows, and I listened to it, and I think I messaged you.
How did I
said,
sound?
"You sounded brilliant. You're an absolute natural."
That's a power of the edit. So
we're going to get into the list. Number 1 on your list, first song in, is The Clash.
Right.
Brilliant upbeat song. Please tell me what it is, and tell me why you want it.
Well, I mean, The Clash were one of my favorite bands in the punk days, and I actually saw them 4 or 5 times live. And I love their music because it says something. There's usually a message, but it's there's like that kind of anger and that angst to it. But there's also melody, and they're one of the more melodic early punk bands, and I loved them for that reason.
And this came out, I think I'm right in saying, right at the start of the 80s, kind of like 1980.
I think it might have been late 1979, early 1980.
So this would have been, correct me if I'm wrong, I hope I've done my research right, but you would have been a punk in LA at that time, wouldn't you?
Definitely.
And so just before the Go-Gos formed, just before you met each other?
Actually, it was because the Go-Gos formed in 1977, so... but we were all, I remember, like, all lived at this, like, punk rock sort of commune in like a derelict building in Hollywood. And I remember, like, Topper and like Mick Jones, hanging out in the building. So it was kind of all around the same time, 1978 is when we formed. So,
right.
Yeah, so it was around the time of this album.
So this song brings back really great memories.
Yeah. I mean, that time in music was really... I mean, we knew back then that we were experiencing something very special.
And was LA really crazy back then? What was it like? Because I've only experienced it in the last kind of decade. Obviously coming over to see you. No, it's
totally different back then. It was much... I mean, it's so much better. I mean, I was born and raised in California, so I can say that. But there was kind of... it was a lot less corporate and a lot more sort of authentic, and it was Hollywood was there, but it wasn't like everywhere. So I don't know, there was a purity there back then, and even an innocence in a way, even though Hollywood was totally dangerous, back then. We were just talking about the gang R13, which was a big gang and a Latino gang, and but even though it was sort of dangerous, it was also a lot more innocent in a lot of ways. But I mean, it was crazy in a good way, not not like in a crazy like today.
Okay, amazing to ask you. Your next song is the end of the 80s. I seem to remember this came out kind of 88, 89. Midnight Oil.
Yeah.
Tell me about this one.
This song is one of those songs I never get sick of. There's like a few songs I can think of, like Come On Eileen, this song, I don't know, a few other rock songs, and I can't really think right now, but it always sounds fresh to me, and there's an energy in the recording that you can feel, and I love that the whole story of, I forgot his name, the singer of Midnight Oil. He actually ran for office in Australia, and I do think he won too, and he's really smart, I think he's, I remember thinking he was great. I think that they still work. I'm not sure, but this song is one of my favorite songs ever recorded.
And it's interesting you mentioned about him running for office, because this is one of probably one of the best protest songs I've
Yes,
ever.
absolutely. Yeah.
The whole thing. If you study the lyrics,
It's amazing.
It's really angsty, isn't
I
it?
got
And
chills
angry.
yeah. No, it's all about the indigenous people and their Aboriginal rights, and he tells the whole story right there in the song.
Yeah.
So.
And the vocal is just amazing.
He's amazing. I think he's just an amazing front person.
Billy Idol. I've got lots of questions I want to ask you, Belinda, about Billy Idol, White Wedding. First of all, tell me why you've picked him.
I think it's a great song. And actually, when I was doing my little radio stint, I was going through old punk, like early punk and Generation X. And I was a big Generation X fan, too. So I thought, gosh, he's still around and he's still working all the time. He's in Vegas all the time working. I don't know how he can bear it, but this is one of my favorite songs he's recorded. Dancing with Myself, but I like this one better, White Wedding.
Have you worked with him? Do you know him? Have you hung out with him?
Yes, back in the Go-Gos were recording Beauty and the Beat, and he was always around in the clubs, and his girlfriend Perry, and she was a dancer there, and he was always around. Like, I moved from the Canterbury, the punk commune, to Disgraceland, the flop house, to the Trianon, which is like a punk rock castle. And he was always in the courtyard, yelling in the courtyard.
I would love to have just experienced a day in your life back then. With the
so much fun.
When the Go-Gos just hit the big time, and
Yeah.
it must have been. It just looked such a special time of creativeness.
Yeah, I remember being at Venice Beach all the time, and back then it wasn't like it was now, like homeless everywhere. But the Station 26 is where all the punks went, the Lifeguard Station 26. And there'd be like the early punk stuff blaring on the speakers, and these little like hot dog kiosks and stuff. It was great, but we knew that we were experiencing something that only comes around maybe once, twice, three times in a century.
Yeah.
I mean, it happened with in 1920s. It happened with Laurel Canyon. There were some, Beat the Beat movement in the 60s, but this was like the late 70s version, early 80s version of that.
And you felt that at the time,
Yeah,
because that's
we
really
knew it.
important. Lots of people look back on things and think, oh, we had something special there. But it seemed that you girls,
We knew it. We knew it. I think anybody, yeah, we all knew it. It was unique, and even in the underground days, it was really exciting because it was, you had to know where to go, because it was before anybody really knew in the States what punk rock was. It was like 50 kids.
Yeah.
So, but it was, it grew really quickly, and it was just a really great scene to be a part of.
I saw the over here, your documentary about the Go-Gos is on Sky, and I rewatched it. I saw it a couple of years ago when I interviewed you. I rewatched it, and this question came to me, and I've never asked you this before, but back then you said, there were just 50 kids. You lot were girls. What did your parents think about you being part? Did they know?
They were horrified. They were absolutely horrified. And I remember my dad, because I would take the bus from Hollywood, and my family lived in Thousand Oaks, which is about 45 minutes outside of LA. So the bus only went so far to Calabasas. So I would sit on a bus bench, and I call my dad and mom from the phone box and said, I'm here. And my dad would literally be like sunken down in the front seat in the station wagon, like having to pick me up. He was so embarrassed. And, they were scared, and they were horrified. And they seeing where I lived in Hollywood at the Canterbury, and even Disgraceland, they were horrified. But when I invited them, when the Go-Gos were about a year into being a band, we were doing a show at the Whiskey, and I invited them to the show. I felt confident that maybe they might change their mind.
Yeah.
And so I put them at a table on the balcony, and they were completely turned around. They were scared still, but they could see that something special was happening.
Amazing. They must be very proud, very, very proud very quickly when they saw how big you had, you'd become and what you'd achieved. What a track this is, Depeche Mode. I'm interested that you picked Depeche Mode and this song.
I love Depeche Mode. I've always loved Depeche Mode. Probably one of my favorite albums that they'd done is Violator, but that was in the 90s, so I couldn't pick anything off of that. But I love early Depeche Mode. There's something kind of silly about it, but great. And I love this song.
And apparently Vince Clarke was just 20. So Vince from Erasure was 20 years old.
We were all so young at one time.
When he created, it's just amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what do you think? I'm dying to ask you, because this is a great example of a song from the 80s that's 40 years old that's really stood the test of time. Yeah. How is it, and your songs all do this as well, how is it that some songs do and some songs don't? I
have no idea. It's weird because... it's partly because of the song itself and the production. You know, I mean, some of my production and this production is very 80s. You know, it might date in that way, but it's a great pop song. But also, some of these songs, for whatever reason, transcend music and become moments in people's lives too, for whatever reason. And I've had like 3 or 4 songs in my career, including the Go-Gos, that have done that. And people don't just think of the song, but they think of something that might have been going on in the world or in their life at that time. And that was probably the last great decade of great music, I think. You know, sort of that had a signature sound. There were so many bands that were great that came out then. You know, Duran, Spandau. I don't know, countless, Blondie, countless bands.
All doing very so different things music as well.
Yeah.
But all stood the test of time.
But all amazing. When you think about how many great artists came out of that decade, I mean, I can't even count.
Yeah. What do you think, just quickly, just chucking a question at you, of so many people that we've lost, so many people that were huge back then? If we think back into, you know, when Heaven came out, we had your Whitneys, your Georges,
right.
Michael Jackson, so many people who are not here anymore.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy when you think of that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel very, very lucky to still be here. I mean, you know, especially with, you know, some of the things that I don't want to, because it's boring to talk about, but some of the things that I've gone through. But it's just like, for whatever reason, you know, you can call it the grace of God or whatever. But yeah, I just feel very, very lucky that 64 and still here.
Look at you, amazing. In the Billboard chart, tour on the go
know,
now.
Really unbelievable.
New stuff with Dan Warren. We'll talk about all of this. Yeah. But yeah, it's amazing to have you. Now, very excited when you asked, when you put the next song on the list, because Yaz.
Yes.
Now, I've always thought that this was like a British song, and I didn't know that people abroad would have heard of this song, known this song, so tell me.
They don't know it. And the only reason why I know it is because I was spending a lot of time in the UK at that time doing promotion. And she did the San Remo Festival at the same year that I did. So I remember hearing the song and seeing the video and thinking, this is such a great song. And it's just so uplifting and really pretty special. And then she had this wild look, you know, she was so pretty. And she really caught my attention because of not just because of the song, but her look that she had, which was really unusual for that time. I love this song, and I totally forgot about it, and I heard it about 6 months in the radio. I forgot about that song. It's so great.
It's kind of got that female empowerment as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And she just looked and sounded completely different to anybody else in the charts.
She was
at that
amazing.
time.
Yeah.
This came out, I was researching earlier, the summer of '88, and that was the summer here in the UK. Well, I found out about you that summer when Heaven is a Place on Earth came out, and it was #1 here. That summer you would have had like Circle in the Sand out as well.
That's right. I was here working it.
You were here all the time, weren't you? I remember seeing you on Wogan, on TVAM.
Everywhere.
Do you remember much about 1988?
Well, the Wogan thing is funny because I had this makeup artist, Lynn Easton, and Pearly Whirly. She did everybody, and she was very funny. And there was like Janine, who you met. The 3 of us would travel around the world together, and she was doing my makeup, and I was in the makeup room, And Terry Wogan came in. I said, "Oh, are you the hairdresser?" And he thought that was really funny. And she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that." But I didn't know who he was. And of course, now I do. And I've worked with him since. But that's what I remember from those times that stands out from all the TVs and stuff that I've done.
Were you surprised that your solo career really exploded here, didn't it? In '88, you were a household name. You were number one in the charts. Whereas, the other way, it kind of happened in America. People were aware of the Go-Gos first, but it seems that lots of people here were aware of Belinda Carlisle, the solo artist. Why do you think that was here in the UK?
I don't know. I mean, with the Go-Gos, we tried a few times to crack it here, I guess, like get into the charts, but it just never worked. For whatever reason, it never worked. So, I mean, I had my first solo album and single, Mad About You, come out. They tried to work it here, and it didn't work. I mean, it was a little bit better than the Go-Gos. But, I mean... Mad
About You is such a brilliant song. It's got a very handsome young man in the video as well. Yeah. I'm looking at your husband in the corner, Morgan.
Yes, he's here.
Can we wave?
Yeah, it's a great song, but it didn't work here. So... Yeah. I had kind of forgot about even having a chance here because we had tried some, quite a few times. And then Heaven is just one of those songs that it changed my life, really.
Yeah, you said that song was just an absolute, when we've spoken before, you said that is a game changer. It's one song that still, I've seen you with audiences in America, here.
Yeah. It's just one of those songs. So it changed everything, and then it just, enabled me to have this amazing career in the UK and parts of Europe that I wouldn't have ever dreamed of having, actually.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. This next song, I kind of get goosebumps just even looking at this. I think it's one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard.
I think so too. It's One by U2. And it's another one of those songs that is timeless, and you never get sick of it. And I do think it's one of the most beautiful songs, lyrically and melodically ever written.
Do you know there's some confusion about actually what it's about?
I heard it had something to do with the Dalai Lama.
Right.
And they were supposed to do or have a meeting with the Dalai Lama or do a festival that he was overseeing, and that's what it's about. Is that's what I heard. Uh-huh. I don't know if that's correct.
I read that it was something to do with a son revealing his HIV diagnosis to his father. So there's a lot of different things here. And I think the important thing is you can take a song like this, and it probably means a million things to a million people, but it's just etched with emotion, isn't it? In every line in this song.
And he's a great singer for sure. And I think it's great that you don't really know what it's about and you can make it your own. Yeah. Lyrically.
So. Have you worked with him, Bono and the Boys?
No, I haven't worked with him, but I'm friends with Adam. I know Adam, and through the years I've run into them, or I went to their show in LA when they played Dodger Stadium. But I think they're a great rock band, one of the best ever. Brilliant.
The next song is by Crowded House, which possibly has the happiest video I've ever seen in my entire life when I rewatched it. This is am I right in thinking Something So Strong's from their debut album when they kind of started? Am I?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I mean, I think Neil Finn and his brother Chip. Well, actually, I was a big Split Enz fan, which was the band that Neil Finn and his brother formed in the mid to late 70s. And I saw them play when they came to LA for the first time, and it was incredible. And the Split Enz albums are amazing. So then he left Split Enz and formed Crowded House, and the whole album is just, every album that they do is just filled with amazing songs, and he's one of my favorite writers.
Yeah, what sets him apart, would you say?
I think that just the chord progression. I mean, if I've tried to cover, I've actually covered 2 of his songs, and I didn't really do them justice, to be honest, because they're really unique and they're a lot more difficult than you would think. I think in chord structure. And I mean, the lyrics are in the same way that one is. I mean, you don't really, sometimes you kind of know what it is, but you can make it your own and interpret it to whatever you want it to be. And he's like a real poet. So I just think I'm just a fan of his writing. You can't really say why you like something.
No, you just like it.
You just like it. And I've always been a big fan of his.
And this song, it's interesting you picked this one. How does this make you feel when you hear it?
Makes me happy.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's a happy, uplifting song.
It's a feel good. It's got that factor, hasn't it? Great
exactly.
Excited about this. Go on, because it's your song. Please announce this one.
Okay.
Which one have you picked?
I've picked the Go-Gos, Lust to Love.
Why this one?
Well, it's off the Beauty and the Beat album. It's when we played it live, it was like a crowd favorite. It's a really good song. It's one of the early songs that was written in the band. And Jane Weedland wrote the lyrics. They're devastating lyrics. And they're, I think girl power lyrics. And I just think it's one of my favorite Go-Go songs.
I saw a video of you performing this in 1981, and the moment it started,
like a spy movie,
exploded.
Yeah.
It's got what I thought teenage angst all over it.
Totally.
It's a real kind of get it out.
And you're the one to blame. Yeah,
it's brilliant.
It's a really good song, and she's Jane. I mean, all of us, with the exception of Charlotte, really had no idea how to do anything and how to write songs and how to...
Is that true?
That's absolutely true.
Because I heard that you didn't know how to play instruments at the beginning, and you didn't know how to connect an amp and stuff.
No, that's why we asked Charlotte to join us, because she knew how to plug guitars into amps. But no, we started from nothing. But she wrote all these amazing songs, not being a trained musician, not ever thinking about songs, and she just wrote these incredible lyrics, and she wrote the melody to "Our Lips Are Sealed" on masking tape and guitar frets. I mean, who does that? So so this is one of my favorite Go-Go
Something
songs.
really special was going on though, but because you all met each other, you were all really specially talented in your own individual ways, and you came together. Do you think it's something like we said earlier? Does it freak you out when you think that?
It's weird, yeah. It's totally weird, because there's no reason why we should have succeeded, really. I mean, against all odds. I don't think that that could happen today, because...
why is that? Why don't you think?
Maybe it could, but things are music is so corporate now. It's I mean, there's pockets. I think it's a lot better in this country than it is in America, but it's so corporate and so icky. And also so sexualized too, especially with women and girls. So I don't think it could happen there. It maybe could here, because for me, it's just a better music comes out of the UK, and it always has, I think.
That's amazing to hear. And also, having been lucky enough to see you, I must be, about 12 or 13 times now, to watch you in America when you've invited me to LA to the gigs, and I see the crowds, and I see your smile on your face when you do the Go-Go's tracks. You really love doing those songs, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, that was an amazing moment. The Christmas just gone, when Lisa Loeb jumped on stage, got the beat, and it was... Yeah. You look like you were having the best time.
Yeah, it was really fun. So she jumped on. I know, it's totally unexpected. So
did you not know that was going to happen?
I had no idea, but she's a great girl. So yeah, she got right up there and dancing in those big heels.
Yeah, and do the Go-Go songs work here? Do you sing them here as part of your shows?
No, not really. I don't. I mean, on this upcoming tour, I'm trying to think. No, because the Go-Go's were, since I'm doing it, this is solo-centric, this tour. So
yeah,
I might throw in "Our Lips Are Sealed," but people want to hear the songs off the solo albums.
It's just I feel so lucky that I've seen both
two,
audiences.
People
and the
go nuts for the
reactions.
Go-Go's in the States.
They love it,
Yeah,
don't they?
they
And they've
do.
each got a story connected to their upbringing and
Yeah.
their youth and different pivotal marks of, growing up and meeting partners and having kids and stuff. So
Yeah.
must be very special to have that kind of legacy and,
Yeah, completely. I mean, it's, against all odds, like I said. So,
tell me about this next song, The Cure, Friday, I'm in Love, because this is a bit different for The Cure, isn't it? This is like the different song from that catalogue.
I think this is, well, I don't know. I have a lot of different favorites from The Cure, but every Sunday in Mexico City, we go bike riding. So I was listening to they have like a playlist, like Spotify thing.
Yeah.
And The Cure came up on my bike ride. I was going, oh my God, this is so great. So then I started listening to The Cure again, and I love his voice. It's like, it's perfect. I mean, there's, like I say, there's perfection and imperfection. And he's a perfect example of that, Robert Smith.
Have you worked with them before?
Nope.
Have your
I've never met
paths
him.
Never?
No.
He seems quite a scary character.
Yeah, he does. I think I'd be really intimidated, yeah. I loved when, when they were inducted into the Rock Hall and they asked him on the red carpet, "Are you excited?" He goes, "No."
Yes. Not as excited as you. That poor girl.
I know. I thought that was really funny. And he's a bit scary, but he's a great vocalist. I think great vocalist.
Do you think that they've stood the test of time with their records? And
I think so too. They're great. They're great pop records, and the production is very unusual.
I must just ask you, at this point, it would be appropriate, when you said earlier about we've got something special here as far as Britain's concerned and British music's concerned. What do you mean by that?
By what?
By, British artists, British music. It's a bit more, you said earlier, it's just a bit more kind of like varied maybe than in the States.
Well, like Jane said in the Go-Gos documentary, I mean, not just in the punk days, but even growing up, although there's some amazing California artists, I have to say, and New York artists too, but amazing California artists like the Beach Boys and Mamas and Papas, and there's definitely a sound. But it's I think the UK has always been like Mecca. It's just like that's where all the good stuff comes from. The stuff that in my taste.
Yeah.
It might not be for everybody, but if you're into blues or country or whatever, it probably isn't. But for me, all the best melodies, all the most innovative music came out of the UK.
Okay, lovely. That's great to hear. It makes me feel good about
being here.
Yeah, I
know. I'm serious.
We must just quickly talk about Animal People Alliance, if we may.
Right.
Because that's how I know you. And we've done some gigs all over the world. And in a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to Thailand to see the shelter and the new ambulance and stuff.
I know.
It's amazing what's happened, isn't it? I mean, I'm so proud to be part of it, but
you're a big part of it.
I love it, and just explain. I mean, that started a few years ago, didn't it?
Well, in 2014, when we were living in Bangkok, and I had friends that worked in NGOs that live in Calcutta. Paul Soot being one of them. He worked at a trafficking NGO that deals with young girls being trafficked. And he said, I really want to do an animal project in Calcutta because there aren't really any good animal services. And I said, I'm going to do that. So that was 2014. We were trying to figure out what it was going to be because, as you know, India is very complicated. And so in the course of the past, it's almost 9 years now, that we found our way. Our mission is not only providing treatment for street animals. We have an ambulance. We don't have a shelter there because it doesn't work that way there. It's better to do street treatments there because there's such a huge street animal population. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, we create employment for people who may have a difficult time finding a job. And people live from day to day there. I mean, if they don't work, they don't eat. So we train them to be animal carers and we give them a salary, and they're just thriving. And we're really well known now in the city. we've expanded into northern Thailand and work a lot with stateless people. Stateless people don't have identification. They have a hard time getting employment. They can't travel. They're like non-existent. So we do the same thing there. But our mission there is more or less adoption, spaying and neutering. We do huge rabies drives in both places.
And that's a game changer, isn't it?
Yeah,
The rabies is such a problem.
Rabies is, people think it's gone, but I mean, it's a serious problem still, you know. Thousands of people die every year. I think tens of thousands of people die every year from rabies.
Wow. And I've literally witnessed poor animals, and it's so hard for people to understand this, but you've got, in India, dogs dying at the side of the road. And thanks to the team who were there straight away administering help, they didn't die. I've literally seen animals' lives being saved. Yeah. And that's all thanks to, everything that you started.
They're awesome, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of abuse there, there's a lot. I was really proud of the moment when they decided to have their own parade in the streets of Calcutta, and there were like drums being banged and horns and like young kids and we started that thing. It's like, big animal rights parade through the streets of Calcutta. And it made me really teary-eyed. It was so like, they're educating people in Thailand, there's not so much abuse, but people eat dogs. I mean, that's part of the culture. So, just trying to get in there and saying, listen, it's not a good idea. Dogs are,
Don't do it.
No, but something at the same time, you have to be respectful of the culture too. Yeah. So I'm not being the white savior to go in there and tell people how to do things.
No, of course not.
So,
of course not.
Let them come to their own conclusions. But that's been very, very successful there. So over the course of 9 years, we've treated over 30,000 animals.
Wow. It's incredible. I'm so proud to know you and to be part of it.
Yeah, I'm proud too.
People always ask me, say, has Belinda been over there? And do you see her with the animals? I say, has Belinda been over there? I've witnessed dogs peeing all over Belinda.
Yeah.
And bless you, you're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
We've had countless trips, haven't we, where we've seen things and experienced stuff as well. So it's amazing. Yeah. Okay, finally, I want to ask you about Summer Rain.
Okay.
Just this final song. I remember you telling me that this is this your favourite?
Yeah, this is my favourite song I've ever recorded, actually. It's a really fun song to sing live. And in some countries around the world, they actually have choreography that goes to the song.
Wow.
Which
that's nothing to do with you?
Nope. In Australia, I don't know who did it, but there's like a whole thing that they do when I sing it live. And it's really fun to watch. And I love the Paul Buckmaster, who's worked with Elton John and so many classic artists, did all the string arrangements on that song. And it's just a really unusual song, chord-wise and melody-wise. I just think it's one of the more romantic songs that I've
It takes your mind on a trip, doesn't it?
Huh?
It takes my mind on
it's beautiful.
Kind of
it's a beautiful
trip.
song. And it's so much fun to sing. It's a hard song to sing, but it's fun.
Is it? In what way?
It goes from low to high. Yeah.
I witnessed a really interesting thing. We did a gig last year at the Royal Vauxhall Tavern in London.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember? And the guy, it was Ross, wasn't it, who paid £7,000 to sing that song with you.
Yeah.
And he
was great.
He was good.
Yeah, he was great.
How did he do?
I thought he was great.
Yeah?
Yeah, he held his own, yeah.
And also, just out of a selfish thing, who's the hot guy in the video? The kind of soldier guy. Is it Morgan? Was Morgan in that video? It wasn't him. He would look great in that video, but it wasn't him.
He was in
You in Mad About You.
Mad About You in Heaven.
Amazing. Morgan's a legend.
I forgot. It's like a...
It's only because I rewatched it a couple of days. I thought, I must ask Belinda.
No, I totally forgot.
Have you enjoyed this today?
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming in.
It's
and
been
who
great.
knows, one day maybe we could do a gig here at Virgin
That would be
Radio.
amazing for APA.
We would love to host you, and let's start chatting.
That would be great.
Belinda Carlisle, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Lovely to see you
Thank
again.
you. Nice to see you, Steve.
Virgin Radio.